Coach, as you look at all the strengths of your team going into the series, is there one strength that you feel like is really going to stick out against Toledo?
Well, I think our offense has been really strong all year. It's been dominant against outstanding pitching. So I'm hoping Toledo has a really good pitching staff. They're pretty deep, and they give you a lot of different looks. So it was fun to see how that they had won 6 games in a row, and they did it with a number of different pitchers. So I think that's the part that's going to have to come through, our ability to adapt and just put up a lot of runs on the board.
When you think about this regional as a whole, competition you guys will be facing?
I think it's one of the tougher regions in the country. The fact that Virginia Tech's coming in as the ACC regular champs, I think that's good. Illinois is always a tough battle for us, and that particular coach we've faced 4 out of the last 5 years in the postseason. So she's very familiar with us, and they're a good team that always, they play very gritty and they're tough. And then Toledo, I just think that right now they're the hottest team coming in, having won all those games. So overall, I think it's one of the better regions in the country.
The team's always pretty cohesive, good chemistry. This team, though, seems especially prone to wanting to play for each other, support each other. Why is that?
Well, I think they're just they're good people. They do everything the right way. They're great academically. They do a ton of things in the community. And on the softball field, I know that they work really hard because we'll give them a task to do at practice, and then they'll come back, and after about a week and a half, they've mastered it. And then you hear how they're talking in the cages and they help each other and everything. So and the coolest thing is you'll have somebody actually helping somebody out that could potentially take their position. So when you have that going on in that kind of culture, that shows great leadership, and I think overall that's why they've been so successful over the last 4 years.
As a coach, how do you prepare for that unknown outside of the first game? You don't know who you're going to play next, and it's a quick turnaround. So how do you kind of prepare for that?
Well, luckily I have a great staff. They've collected video of all the teams, and so hopefully we're going to just watch as much as we can before that. But I think more than anything, this team is very adaptable, and so they've worked so hard on their offensive game plans that they're able to switch them up pretty quickly. And I do think that's why offense, in the end, will be the one thing that kind of helps carry us and adapt. So I just think you got to take it in stride. You got to hope that your defense shows up to play. And we have a very gritty defense, so I feel good about that spot. And then, pitchers are just going to have to command their zone, get ahead in the count, and, rely on their defense to make a bunch of big plays.
How has Abby gone from a great player to now like an all-time great player?
I think what Abby's done is, she's always wanted to, carry the team. She's always wanted to come up with a big hit. But we could have been down by 5, and she would be trying to, hit it over the berm to get a 5-run home run. And when you try that hard all the time, what happens is you end up swinging out of the zone all the time. So anyway, what Abby is figured out how to master is she's learned how to master herself. She's learned to she worked so hard on early pitch recognition and things. So she's picking up the ball early, and she's just trying to lock in and hit the ball hard as opposed to hit it far. And because of that, she's increased her, her vision is so much better. Her plate discipline is just so much better. And because of that, she's just, taken her game to the whole other level. So she's just really matured as a person and a player, and she's worked hard at her goal.
Can you maybe pinpoint a time in this season where with Abby you're like, this is a different version of her?
Yes, I think, it happened early on. Last year in the past, like when a pitcher would climb the ladder, do whatever, and throw it way out of the zone, she would swing at those things. And this year, I think the first time I saw her not do it and walk, I went, that's weird. And so I took a mental note of it, but I didn't think about it again. And then the next game, she did it again, and the next day, she did it again. And so what I saw her do is kind of like mature in front of our eyes. And then I saw the rest of our players kind of pick up around her. Jenny picked up her game in front of her, and then you had Alex doing some great stuff behind her, and then you saw Abby relax. And now she's just letting the game come to her. So I'm certainly hoping that she continues with that approach. So I think it's just been an overall, she just seems a lot more relaxed and calm in the box, and she's trying to win the game that's in front of her instead of trying to do it all on her own.
Watching that selection show on Sunday night, it seemed like every other team that popped up you guys played at some point during the season.
Yeah.
How well prepared do you guys feel heading into this, having played the schedule you did?
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of unknowns to us, and that's the beauty of playing such a demanding schedule. The hard part about playing such a demanding schedule is you get knocked down early and you have to figure out how to pick yourself up. And if your goals are as lofty as this team, of making a postseason run, it requires a lot of discipline, and it requires a lot of hard work, and it's not always fun. And so the fact that they've made it through that gauntlet and that they have seen the rest of the people. It allows them to be able to feel more prepared. And you saw that when we went down to Alabama and won the series down there. Very hard place to play, the incredible fan base. And then when we played Ole Miss in the SEC tournament, that you could see that we were rolling on all cylinders. And I think that's just a tribute to the tough schedule and what we had to do to overcome it and become a better softball team.
How special is this senior class?
Oh, they're awesome. I think the coolest part is, first of all 5 of them are graduating in 4 years in the major they want to be in, and I think that's incredibly important when you're in college athletics, because it's not an easy thing to do. But then to see, Henson's having a career year for her. She's coming in and gotten some big hits for us, and that's somebody that you really didn't expect. So that was pretty special. And then to have all 3 of them make all conference, Abby Player of the Year, Jenny making all conference. She's usually a kind of a quiet leader, and for the conference to recognize her was a big deal. And that, Katie's pretty much the president for us. So she's been doing great stuff all along, and she continued to do that and didn't press so hard. So it's just been an exceptional class. Rainwater coming back from such a terrible injury last year. So it's a tough class, and a lot of the reasons why we're so successful over the last 4 years.
What's it like coming into this tournament known more as an offensive team than maybe a pitching team like in past years?
I'll tell you, it's different. For years, so for the first 9 years of at least my part of the program, we were a team who, was one of the top teams in the country in pitching, and we'd have always a great defense, and then you had to figure out how to score a run or two. And so every game was 3-2, so it was nerve-wracking in that way. But now we have a situation where, our ERAs are a little bit higher, and so offensively, we don't feel like, we come back, we get some runs, but you got to make sure you play tough defense, but you don't feel like the other team's ever out of it. And so, it's just a different feel. With that said, I think Autumn Humes has really stepped up the last couple of weeks, and she's given you really quality pitches. She's getting ahead in the count and keeping the ball in front of the defense. So that's all you can hope for at this point.
I heard you being interviewed between innings during the SEC tournament. You're pretty intense during the games. How do you feel about taking a little time out and having people talk to you right in the middle of the game?
Well, it's something I had to get used to. At first when I used to coach third, and I was the pitching coach, and I was doing the interviews, but we weren't as good back then, so I didn't really understand what was kind of going on. It's tough because you got to be on point and you have to be on the pitch. The other hard part is you're mic'd up. So I was mic'd up the whole game, and then on the Monday night you're mic'd up. And I'm a coach, I'm not a saint, so I really try hard to try to be a better person. But to do that in the middle of an SEC game isn't always the easiest atmosphere. And we try to create a tough environment for our team and for everybody around us, because oftentimes our team is the underdog, and if you're not tougher than everybody else, they take advantage of you. So it's important that we create such a big sense of urgency on our team that they understand what they need to do to be able to beat people that might be twice as big as they are, or throw the ball a little bit harder and stuff like that. So it's not always the easiest environment to be on camera, but it's definitely part of it. But I'm glad, because you guys wouldn't be here, and I definitely believe that TV and ESPN and just all the media that goes around it is what's making softball such a great sport. I think you guys are the #1 reason why softball is continuing to get better and better, and so I just think it's part of it, and I think I got to get better at it.
So if I come down in the middle of the third and talk to you, that'll be okay?
Well, you have to pass Chris, who's a lot meaner than I am, so, I think that's okay. But, usually my biggest challenge is the bat girl. I have to try to be really good around the bat girl, because I don't want to, influence the youth of America. So, believe it or not, that's the hardest thing that I have to do in game when we're home, and we have to deal with them, because, I definitely want to make sure good things happen for them, too. So that's the tough part.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.